Let's do it. All right. Welcome, everyone. It is 7 p.m. and most of you know what that means. It is time for X Fabulous Story Tour. We are here for our second rendition of our story tour. It'll be an hour-long power hour. And this week we are featuring the lovely Elle Hill and the lovely Yanté Turner speaking on trans lives, health, advocacy, and liberation. My name is Michaela Lacey. I am the community connector and volunteer coordinator, and I will be the facilitator tonight. And I will make space for these lovely folks to introduce themselves.
Elle, you want to
Um,
go first?
why don't I just, because I'm going to talk about what this space means for just a
Mhm.
second, and then we'll then hand it off to you two. So, hi, I'm Nicola Costa. I'm the Marketing and Communications Associate for X Fabula. And this program or this series is called StoryTour. And it happens on Wednesdays, 1 to 2 times a month through the summertime. And what StoryTour is, it's a virtual affinity space series focused on stories from Black, Indigenous, Latinx, and people of color, created and led by X Fabula's Black and Brown staff. And these are always going to be live and always going to feature really dope people in Milwaukee. And that's where y'all come in.
Hi, everybody. And it's a dope panel, and I appreciate the dopeness in this panel. I love you, Nicole, and I love you, Michaela. And thank y'all for having us. My name is Elle Hill or Elle Halo. I'm an LGBTQ health equity advocate here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Um, should we just do like that or go into what?
Yeah, that's good for now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Go ahead, back.
My name is Yanté. My pronouns are he, him, his. I don't know if I should say my last name, but I work at Diversity and Resilient as an inclusion and equity coordinator. Um, I wear many hats. So doing birth work in the community, doing doula work in the community, and so many other things. Mhm.
Cool. And Nicole, I just want to say thank you for coming up with this amazing idea. And when you brought this to our team meeting, the first people that popped in my head were actually Elle and Yante and Jamada. But I was like, Elle and Yante are such a dynamic duo that like we just got to make that happen. We have to create that energy. We have to like give them that space because like you'll see why. Everybody will see why by the end of the hour. So I guess I just want to jump right into it with a check-in, temperature check, and start off with our first question, which is to just give a rose and a thorn. So the rose would symbol the highlights of your week, the beautiful thing that happened, and your thorn, something that wasn't so great. And that can like go either or. Sometimes you don't have a rose, sometimes you don't have a thorn, and that's fine too. But just to check in. So, Yante, can you start us off?
Yeah. My rose has not happened yet, but I have surgery. I have top surgery, which is like the removal of any like fat or chest tissue to make it like fully flat. Um, I have that this Friday. You know, we've been waiting like years for something, and you like, and it's coming, and my body's like, we not. Hold on, wait a minute. So that also contributes to my thorn, I think. I think my body's like, are we ready to have no titties? Can we handle it? Um, which is so that's also my thorn. It's like the anxiety that shows up when I'm also trying to affirm my body, which is we'll also probably get into. So yeah.
Yes, I am sending you so much love. I am so happy for you. My heart is in the room with you. And whatever you need, please communicate that. Please don't call me when I'm on a live. So I just want to send you all my love because I am so happy for you and I'm so proud of you, so moved by you all the time. And Elle, my love, I want to hear your rose and your thorn. How was your week?
Thank you. And congratulations, Yanté. I love you. And we praying for your healing and for everything to go well. And it will. And we love you. And we're going to see you on the other side. And for me, my rose and my thorn, I definitely tried to be like as active as I could physically manage in June for Pride Month. I thought it was important to do so in our climate, and I thought it was important to do so with just the different opportunities that I have access to. And so for July, I've been definitely like really trying to take some self care time. And I took a lot of downtime with my family since our PA graduation, our public allies graduation. A few weeks ago, my cousins had came to visit my three girl cousins, my older cousin and her kids, and so it was just good to have like just some feminine energy and not be around just what I mean, family and friends and people all the time without having what I mean, like really that feminine energy or enough of it or enough people of it with you at different times. And so that definitely has like really helped to really center and calm and reground me a little. And so, trying to kick back up to being, you know, a little more active, and I've definitely still continued to work during this time. But that was definitely my roles. So there's a community activist mural on 14th and Valita, Milwaukee, and I'm one of the people that's featured on it. And so 2 days ago, they just left this morning, my cousins. And so 2 days ago, I think we went down there to go take pictures. So that was that specific moment was my like Rose, my little baby cousin is 3, and she, as soon as she got out the car, she was like sleep. She wasn't even like there for going to the thing. You know what I mean? We was going to Chuck E. Cheese. So she like, girl, like, where's you making us go first, right? So she was like sleep in the car. And as soon as she got out the car, she's like, oh my God, there's TT. And I don't know, just the warmth of that and just sharing the time and space with them and having that beautiful piece of art to share with my family and my friends in the community as well, has definitely been a big rose. And a thorn would be, I'm gonna just be simple and say like, saying goodbye. Not goodbye, but saying see you later, and that they just left today. So, but we all good. And we excited for this conversation and for the things yet to come. So
absolutely. And I just want to say congratulations on your mural. I'm so happy that you are on a mural, like, and that I can see your face. Like, and I believe that you should be everywhere. Like, honestly, Elle's face should be all over the city of Milwaukee. I want to see her before I step in restaurants, before I go to the protest, before I go to church, before I, whatever I do. I just want to see Elle's face. So
not before church, Michaela. Not before.
Yes, absolutely. That, oh my goodness.
I can make a billboard. I can make that happen.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's put Elle everywhere. As a matter of fact, that's the hashtag for the week. Hashtag put Elle everywhere.
I like all of this creativity right now. I'm very much here for this.
I'm ready on my to-do list right now.
Okay, the other hashtag got to be Elle over everything.
Yes.
Oh,
that's a vibe. I see it. I feel it. Yes.
I don't got no words. Just get it. Oh my God! Thank you. I love you. I say thank
you. Well, we know that both of you are amazing and excellent and so worthy of all the things. But just tell the audience and tell us more about what you do, your titles, and kind of like your journey into becoming the advocates that you have grown to be. Elle, do you want to start first?
For me, my journey has been coming up as a community member of a particular marginalized identity, being a Black trans woman, being a young Black trans woman, in the city of Milwaukee, and really began with my youth activism and arts involvement as a young person, and education as a young person, and community work. My mom is a minister, Evangelist Veronica Harding. And I always talk about her. I'll talk about her kind of more than she wants me to talk about her. But I really love and respect and uphold the things that she's taught me. And really, the sum total of that is not even just for like ministering people or like publicly ministering people, but for everyone, that you have your own personal ministry, and that no life is complete without being in community and being a part of community service and of helping and caring for those around you. And we do that in a million ways. We do that in a million ways as women. We do that in a million ways as queer, black trans people. And so that's definitely where it started for me. 5 years ago, when I began my transition, one of my childhood best friends introduced me to Ronnie Grace at Sheba, who was facilitating Sheba at that time. And Sheba is Sisters Helping Each Other Battle Adversity, which is a Black trans women's support program. It's effectively the only specifically Black trans women support program that I found in my like research and networking in the whole Midwest. And so I definitely see it as a treasure, and it's definitely a safe space for myself, and has been a space that I needed for access and for services and access in that way. But also in terms of my life and my lifestyle and my safety, in terms of being in community with the other ladies. And so from there, I was encouraged by Ronnie to apply to become a member of our statewide action planning group for HIV and AIDS of Wisconsin, which is effectively our state's advisory HIV board. And so that was 3 years ago now. And after 2 years, I applied and I was nominated and became the first transgender woman to become co-chair elect of the group. The group has a 25-year history. It's an amazing group. Everyone has incredible stories connecting them to HIV, STIs, and like Hep C and harm reduction work. And I've learned so much from that group. And really identified my capability of mine based off of just my personal education and interest and knowledge base, or what, you know what I mean, I had to even be taught was my expertise about translating things from healthcare to people directly, to civilians, to people that are not service providers or healthcare providers. So that's something that I feel specifically equipped to do, is to work on breaking down that specific barrier between the people that are providing community services and health services and us, and why we don't access them. Why don't organizations talk to each other? Why don't I know, as a citizen in Milwaukee, the organizations and the things that are happening in my local neighborhood, or even in the neighborhoods around me, or bigger than that, and the things that apply to me based off of my identity? And why can't I access those things even though I'm in a space to need them? And I said all that to say that as a community member and coming up into this work, naturally, I feel like has me in a unique position, but also we need more of it. Like, we need that access, and we need people to come up in that way, and to be introduced into management and leadership and advocacy, and as service providers. And we need to start like in a realistic way, and not as just a principle or as just something that we're talking about or discussing, actually making our boards and our organizations and our service providers look like the people that they're serving. And that's something that's actually possible right now, and we don't have to wait for that. And we can't accept another generation worth of waiting for the answers to our solution, to our problems. So in this time, I became a public ally. I'm currently at the end of my second year as a public ally, as a fellow. I'm the Inclusion Health Program Specialist at Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin. And it's been an amazing year. And I'm a part of the education team. And I've gotten to be in a lot of great spaces and learn a lot from the staff and from both of my public allies placement experiences, being at Planned Parenthood and being at Health Connections Inc. and having all women superiors. And being able to be in an environment that isn't male driven or that isn't driven by things that aren't, just not to say like it's perfect or anything like that, but to say that aren't relevant to the work, and not having to worry about those things in your workplace. I came out of retail. I came out of fashion retail. I worked as a sales representative and as a stylist for about 8 years. And so it definitely, a lot of things in my life have changed and transitioned along with myself, with my body and my mind. And so I became also a member of the Black AIDS Institute's Ambassadorship of Biomedical Prevention, which was the all women's ambassadorship for cis and Black trans women nationwide of all national advocates, HIV advocates. And it was an amazing experience. And one of the mantras of the Black AIDS Institute is our problem, our solution. We have the access, the skills, the people, the resources, access to the money if we don't have the money, access to the infrastructure if we don't have it ourselves, to be able to address the things that we are seeing in our everyday climate. And I'm also this is my second year as a board member of Diverse and Resilient, which is a wonderful prevention agency, which is the home of Shiva.
Yes, Elle. Now y'all see why I say put Elle everywhere. Because she already everywhere anyway. Like, now she needs
Can I add one last thing, Michaela?
Of course, absolutely.
Really, two things. I'm also a part of the Inclusive Restroom Working Group for the Equal Rights Commission of Milwaukee, and we are working towards passing an ordinance to have all of the current city-owned buildings to move into a plan to be modified for all the restrooms to become gender-neutral, accessible facilities. And we are going to move into the next stages of that. And also, again, coming up as a community member, I have a lot of independence and I collaborate with a lot of organizations, and that's been amazing and has taught me a lot. And it's something that I want to continue to do and continue to grow in an intersectional way. And these are things that I don't feel like my independence in the work and not just being staffed to an organization are things that I feel are like necessities in where I'm trying to go with my work. And so, yeah. You have to, face new frontiers.
That's right. I think that the work that you do is so amazing, so necessary. And I just want to continue to shout out your ambition, your just everything, because you are everything. And I just love that so much about you. And I want to extend the same question to Yanté, and I want to just talk about some of the work that you do and some of your titles and your journey in becoming the advocate that you've been.
So I think I've started to realize that my advocacy and showing up in spaces is very new and very fresh. And so I think that's a lot of like fumbling out loud, like effing up in front of people and being like, yep, like my bad, like I'm sorry. And so my advocacy is new. Being in this body is relatively new. Knowing what this body even looks like is relatively new, or what I want it to look like. And so my advocacy started I believe my like first year of college, and I became the something coordinator of the LGBT Center of UW Milwaukee. And I think that that's where I found my passion of just being in front of people, right? I'm an introvert, and people don't believe me, but like once I'm done with people, I'm done for the day. I'm like, all right, my room it is. Like, here we go. But like I learned to perform, right? And I learned that like performing not only like people see you, right? Like people learn to understand, right? People engage you differently when you are like, this is it, right? This is all of me all the time. Here we go. So my advocacy started off wild. It continues to be wild. It's probably didn't start off like how other folks started off. I think I jumped right into like youth engagement and youth work, which is one of my passion works, is like working with young people. And also being a young person myself. And so it was a weird, ageist, like already racist, already transphobic. And then you dropped me in there and they're like, how old are you? Like, why are you even, how did you get into this room? And so my advocacy also looking like making sure that I was smarter than everybody else in the room, right? Or could perform in a way that they thought I was smarter than them. So my advocacy is like this very fluid and persistent and present like energy, which I think I display in like all of my work. And so what were the other parts of the question?
So more so about like the work that you do,
Mm-hmm.
and the kind of like the journey and how you got there. You tapped into like starting in college and that like kind of invigorating that part of you. So just a little bit more on that and the work that you do now.
So the work that I do now is still wild. It's still all over the place, and there's not a solid box for what it is. But it always centers like Black queer liberation, and so or just like queer liberation that most of it's Black, like most of it's POC centered. So my work at Diverse and Resilient is also very, very fluid. I'm thankful for that organization because they allow fluidity, because they know that like our passions are bigger than our bodies sometimes. And this little title can't hold all of that. So you might as well just let me do all the work. And they do, right? Like they are diverse and resilient, and the people that work there, the people that support me, are allowing me to like birth all these other the connections or branches of work. And so a lot of my work at Diverse and Resilience is around youth engagement also, specifically centered around trans youth, and allowing and not allowing or birthing or supporting like these spaces where they can just exist how they want to exist. Working in spaces with young people, young trans people, about like what trans liberation looks like without colonization, right? Without white gaze, without working within the system, and like teaching young folks that. Also, harm reduction work, doing doula or doing birth work has been like one of my like newer branches of work, and I just dived into it. Mostly because like ain't nobody waiting for slowness, right? Which I think is a very good explanation for how fast I work and like who I am as a person. Is always go, 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 go. And my work shows that it's really so it's a lot all the time, every day. And like new programs are always being popped in, are always in my head. So like, who knows my work is? All the work, everything is my work.
Yes. I literally love you. I literally adore you. And it's so amazing the way that you consider. And I think that like I love and I admire so much how like the love that you have for yourself kind of transmits and like transmits in the way that you like love others and you consider others and you show up for others. And it's so like the time when I found out you were doing birth work, right? I was just like, yo, like X Fabula was just having a conversation about 53218 and like the unfortunate just way that birthers have like a completely different birth rate, a completely different delivery rate than other zip codes and other communities. And I just value the fact that you continue to figure out ways that you can help service that and figure out ways to lower those numbers and make Black and brown people feel comfortable in the work, in the process of giving birth and all of that. And I just appreciate the heart of you. And the next question is actually about, to both of you, is about how you recalibrate, how you practice self-care, and what that looks like for you in your day-to-day, week to week, month to month, etc. Yanté, would you like to start first?
So see what happened was I'm terrible at self-care. I think that go never slows down.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't really allow myself time to slow down. So I'm really bad. I'm really bad at self-care. I think I work until burnout, which is awful, right? It's not sustainable. It shouldn't be happening, especially not in the work that I do, right? Like I can't captivate wholeness if I don't come to a space also whole. But I work myself into exhaustion, which is like a bunch of other things also related to transness, right? Like people think that I am like a dope trans person because I worked I worked to get to be a dope, like a privilege, right? When that's not it, right? I became like, or not become, like people have indoctrinated me into spaces as like this palatable trans person. And I think that is because of the work ethic that I have, which is white centered, which is like white people stuff to like burn yourself out like that. And they're like, oh yes, you. And so my self-care routine hasn't been happening. And so I don't know the answer. I think I've allowed myself to like venture off into the outside and like allowing the leaves and the trees in the air to hold and carry me. Because I haven't learned how to do it in any other way.
Mm-hmm. No, I feel that. I definitely feel that. And thank you for that. Thank you. And Elle, also to you, what do you find yourself doing to recalibrate? What does your self-care look like? Or do you feel also that you have a hard time practicing self-care?
I really want to piggyback off of everything that happened after y'all started talking about Black maternal morbidity. Mm-hmm. And so I'll do that. How I self-care, for one, is I have to have music loud around me as much as I possibly can throughout the day. And so I often just walk around. I think so much of what I do, what I specifically do, is taking whatever access that we have or that I have because of the things that Yanté is talking about, and turning that into something, even if I'm not a speaker or a panelist or a part of the event or a part of the work or the mission of the event. I remember 2 years ago during our first year when Yanté and I and several other people that were first year allies went to Shorewood High School, and they were having community discussions around To Kill a Mockingbird and censorship, and different things that happen in the particular Shorewood community and climate. And it really became a conversation about how uniquely in Shorewood there are a lot of interracial children, as opposed to in the inner city where most of the kids at a school are like, you know what I mean, where the kids at schools are broken up based off of their zip codes and racial identities, and tend to go in those ways, as opposed to this community where it's blended communities as far as races, more so than in the inner city, and just how that grew into such a huge dynamic and problem, way bigger than just the issue of the play. Now, all of that said, I just went to go, right? All that said, I just went to go, or so I thought. And I'll even relate this to how I ended up becoming, my first year, how I ended up applying and becoming a member of SAPG. I really just, and I often do this, like I really just think I'm going and I'm gonna use a term, you know what I'm saying? And it really be God, you know? So at this event that I'm talking about at Shorewood, there was this young girl, a young person. I don't know their identity exactly, but there was a young person. They had spoke like when the youth were speaking. And they were one of the only Black children that spoke when the youth were speaking. And so at the very end, they came up to me and they just was like, I can't believe you came and thank you for coming. And I don't know, I can't believe somebody like you would come. And although parts of you as a trans person out in public with new coworkers, so you know what I mean? Me and Yanté ain't know each other like that yet. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I mean? All of us, like, we was friends and everything, but we didn't know each other like that yet. This was like one of the first things that we did. And so, and it was extracurricular, like it was like personal, us just going. And so, like I said, I really just went to watch. A white person came up to me and like made me like do like a microphone interview, and I was like, okay, I'll do it. But I wasn't there to say anything. I didn't really know what was really happening. I just really went to go. And so again, like I said, it was really God. And while part of me might be dysphoric or might be anxious out in public, in any space really, or in any cis space really, for her to say that to me was special. And it wasn't, even though those words could have multiple meanings, I knew what she meant and it was special. And so that taught me by yourself, that lesson of that I can't take for granted where I am and when a breakthrough happens or when something is happening, and that I don't always have to be a centered person to be working in the space. And so a lot of what I do now and what has grown from that moment is I use my fashion and my body and my like beauty or Black beauty or Black trans beauty as a tool in this work, as a tool of visibility and as a tool of really with the radical, you know what I mean? Like I didn't like got kind of radicalized this summer, you know what I mean? I done got kind of radicalized this summer, you know? So I'm really like in my head, like trying to take even the fashion thing to another level, because I really feel like I want to work on like the issues that intersect and that we feel are special to us, you know what I'm saying, are different. And for me, I wanted to colonize why I can't wear what the fuck I want to wear in the boardroom and when I'm at, when I feel like wearing what I want to wear. I want to decolonize that. I want to work on that. I want to work on why it is that people with privilege decide that they're not going to accept people without their privilege, whether or not we're in an institution, a workplace, etc. So those are all things that like came out of that. Now, what I wanted to touch on about Black maternal morbidity is last year, my cousins were staying with me and they had a baby, and the baby ended up passing away of natural causes. And so often in our Milwaukee, North Side, Black Milwaukee community, we judge all of these cases that we've seen for the last 15 years on the news of babies dying from SIDS, while we're not being told about the mothers that are dying, that are a part of Black maternal morbidity in Wisconsin, and about stillborn births or not full-term births that are a part of that statistic and a part of that makeup as well. And so we're only hearing that, and we're all only assuming that it's drugs, or that is this, or that is that, or that is poverty, which it is. And it's You know what I mean? For different people in different circumstances, it's a combination of all of those things. It's domestic violence plays a part, different things like that. But really, everything comes down to, in Black maternal morbidity, the way that we are treating people when they are pregnant or carrying children. And even in the time before that, in the time that they're leading up to like them conceiving. And so we need to treat people better. And we need to address the needs of specifically Black women as a part of that issue. Also, as a part of that issue, being someone, again, who comes from a health background in the work, I did a similar chat. I did a chat specifically about Black maternal morbidity for Leaders Igniting Transformation at the beginning of the summer with one of our ally alum cohort members, Jaleese. And it really was like a really interesting, amazing conversation. But in my prep for the conversation, what I discovered was that they were aware on the state level, on the local state level, that Wisconsin was having higher rates of Black maternal morbidity 15 years ago. So before all the babies that passed in the last 15 years passed, and before we saw all those cases and allowed the mainstream to just paint that for us as a othering, as opposed to, no, this is affecting every Black family in our state, you know? And so what I found out is that they actually had that data 15 years ago and they did nothing. They did things that are similar to what we're seeing about COVID data and similar to things that we see about dead naming and misgendering trans people after they've been killed, or trans women after they're being killed. And even with like the legacy of HIV and the different things that we've seen policy-wise come out of HIV advocacy and just treatment and care. And so we have to be, as society members, we have to be aware of those things. And we have to be aware, like 15 years ago was the time to be actionable on that. Yes, we have the worst in the nation now. The conversation that you're having about Black maternal morbidity isn't just that it's bad in that one zip code. The city is now the worst in the nation. That is every Black family, that is every one of our families in the last 15, 20 years have been touched by that. And so it's something that I also feel very passionate about. And I feel a duty as a trans woman advocating for reproductive rights and women's issues to talk about the things that mainstream culture doesn't allow women to talk about. And to talk about sexual assault and domestic violence in a way that is, you know what I mean, like factually based, but clear. And I think so often in all of our work, we get so caught up on terminology, so caught up on this, on titles, on labels, on who has what position, on who is this, on where they come from, are they Black, should I take this service, should I go there, should I go on an interview, as opposed to going and getting what you need and just getting what you need. And so, next question.
Michaela, can I touch on that really quickly?
Absolutely.
I wanted to add that a lot of my work intersects with anti-racism work. So on that note, we should also be very, very, very understanding that Black women dying, Black femme folk dying in hospitals after having kids, after having young people, or having babies, or not even making it to having their baby, that is specifically centered and rooted in white supremacy. That is also specifically centered and rooted in sexism and males being the center of people who are providing care. And also that centering hospitalization and y'all saw my cat, he tripping in front of me. It's rude.
Also, the swift way that you pushed him and continued.
That is like specifically rooted in cis white men being like birthing doctors, right? And also this like not accurate thing of being like, well, Black women, Black people have a higher pain tolerance, so they don't need all of these things. Their needs don't need to be met because they can sustain and withstand, right? That is all centered in racism. That is all centered in like the desire to strip people away from access, the desire to let Black families thrive. Like that is intentional. This is intent. So like, I do want to talk about that.
Man. And my next question actually was, I heard you and Elle talk about intersectionality and the way that all of these things tie together. Blackness, being a part of the LGBTQ plus community, being someone who is young, and all of these things. And so I want to just really kind of touch on that a little bit more. How does intersectionality weave into your individual works? So I want to start with Yanté, and then we'll move on to Elle.
Okay, this is a beautiful question. I think one, because I be geeking, because Kimberly Crenshaw is a badass. She is a phenomenal researcher and professional. Not professional. We don't care about professionalism. Professor. And intersectionality became like my favorite word last year once we learned about it in Public Allies. I was like, because it's everything upon everything, right? And I think about, when we say the word intersectional, I think about my emergent strategy readings when she talked about like a fern and like how it is always intertwined and connected and deeply rooted somewhere, right? And so when I think about intersectionality, all that really is being like everything upon everything is connected, right? So for me, and they use like this holistic word, right? But it's really just basic humanity. Like, we are giving people access to their shit, to the shit that they deserve, to the shit that their people deserve generations back, right? And so when we talk about the work that I do, when I talk about the work that I do, why also I'm like, it's you dive deep and it's everywhere. It's because it's all interconnected. I can never pick apart what exactly the work that I'm doing. Because for me, I'm like, you can't birth no baby if you ain't got a house. You can't birth no baby if we don't have food in your fridge. Therefore, how can you sustain yourself, right? So like, my doula work just isn't about a birth, or isn't just about postpartum care, right? It's about centering mental health. It's about centering whole people, because those are the people who are showing up, right? And that's intersectional. This is intersectional work, because when we talk about liberation for Black trans people, I'm talking about Black disabled trans people too, right? But when we talk about Black Lives Matter, I'm including all my niggas that you niggas don't like, right? I'm including all the niggas that cishet mainstream folks ain't catching. Those people too. Because I'm not talking about cis people when I say Black lives. For me, I'm like, y'all don't actually care. And why shift my energy and center cis people when they don't do that for trans folks? Right. And it ain't even centered, right? And we're not talking about centering trans people. We literally just mean make space. And so my intersectional work really is just like life work. We are constantly finding things to break communities, to break people's autonomy, to break partnerships, to break like these things that are vital to like us being people are constantly being broken down by societal norms, by biases and harm. And so to do justice work is to be intersectional, or you are not doing justice work.
Yes, Yanté. Yes.
I agree. And again, I said this earlier, I think it's a necessity for us to be intersectional. My work began just in HIV prevention, and for a long time, I didn't think that I would be able to find work outside of that. And that's something that colonization taught me, and that was the sum of our work. And it took me having access to more to realize that I can work for the things that I really want to work on, like decolonizing. I don't even know what to call it. I don't want to say decolonizing fashion, but just decolonizing body positivity and wearing clothes the way that you want and represent, and presentation, decolonizing presentation. And so I think that's one thing that I've definitely identified just personally that I'm gonna continue to do, with my fashion, with with you know what I mean, whatever beauty opportunities or pictures or photos I have the opportunity to work something out artistically, and makeup, hair, nails. I mean, every like you know what I mean. This is you know what I mean. This is life is art, and I believe in that, and I believe the body is art, and I believe our bodies are whole, and I believe our bodies are amazing and wonderful, and that the life that is in them um, is worth something, you know. And so I also have identified for myself that I want to specifically work on breaking down barriers in faith inclusion to have like for me faith inclusion and the conversation that I'm trying to have in faith inclusion is not so much about like getting faith leaders or faith communities to welcome in new queer people, but for them to acknowledge and uplift and actually minister to and service in a real, honest, open, genuine, truthful way with the constituents of their congregations that are already queer, and that may or may not publicly identify as queer, or may or may not just publicly identify as queer to their church community. And so that's where I would like that. I would like to be a part of that work in Milwaukee and a part of that work in my future. And I would also like to like move into more youth LGBTQ based work, and I've done some grant work around that. And so I you know, I think I think I think our people end up burnt out by thinking that they can only do one thing or serve in one way, or that they can't express themselves in their work, or that they can't make. Why can't I, as a Black trans woman, have my body aligned with my mind, have my mind aligned with society, have society aligned with me working, with me looking how I look? Like, why is it always that we have to change and that the finish line gets pushed further and further away? You know what I mean? If it's not, you know what I mean? Work access is housing. If it's not that, it's health. If it's not that, it's assault. If it's not that, you know what I mean? It's your own depression and anxiety. Like, and that's everybody, you know, and that's everybody and the traumas and the harms that we face as Black people and as Black, queer, and trans people. And so definitely, I think those things are intersectional things that I would like to see for my future and for my future work. And to continue in with the foundations I've tried to start building in those areas. But I also think that the intersectionality, again, kind of like what Yanté said, is this everything, is this our whole life, like what you said from Emergent Strategy about the fern. Our whole lives led up to this. My mother, 20 years before we had the data about Black maternal morbidity, or the data and the knowledge and the public mainstream knowledge now, that doctors don't believe Black women, right? 20 years ago, when I was a young person and my mom was ill and I was a caretaker to her, as I have been throughout our lives together. And 20 years ago, she had to advocate alone by herself with no support, no foundation, no structure, no system, and even family members like myself and other people not believing the things that she was saying, because we didn't have the language of diabetic nerve pain, because we didn't know what fibromyalgia was, because we didn't know, you know what I mean, what all these different conditions were, and that the doctors just plain aren't addressing the issues that you're going to them to address. And so I think, like, I'm a spiritual person, obviously, whatever. But you know what I mean? I'm a spiritual person. And I really believe that everything is God, and I believe that the ways that we end up in a position, whether that's at McDonald's or whether that's this, you can still be ministering to people, you can still sing, you can still be an artist, you can still dance, you can still write, you can still put your stuff out, you can still touch people, you can still reach people and be a part of doing that. And I think for those of us that have a heart to do community work, in like a full-time way, or like a bigger way, out of your life, I think it's hard for us to have community without being in it as well. Like, I don't know if I would ever have the support systems I have now if I didn't start working. in this work. And so, and that's also like something that I recognize as a privilege and access that we have to events, to organizations, to people, to whatever, without either of us being paid enough, of course. Let us not lean away from the things we need to be discussing. But, I think it's necessary for us to be intersectional. And the last thing is I think it's necessary now for everyone for us to be voice to be heard. That's what we're seeing. That's why it looked crazy, is because everybody needs to be heard. What are you staying quiet for? I'm not challenging you. I'm not, picking on anyone or anyone's issue or censoring something that's not of my experience. Mm-hmm. Why, again, are we pushing the finish line further and further and further away for ourselves? I'm not doing that no more.
Michaela, I know you have to move on. Can I please just add to this?
Go for it. Like, I just want y'all to just take all the space. Like,
I think when we talk about intersectionalities, the one thing that comes to me is like the ways in which we have not been validated in having intersections, right? So the times as a Black, like trans masculine person, who passes, right? Which is also a privilege to pass. There are occasions where people are like, "Are you all the things?" And I'm like, leave me alone. Like, don't talk to me. Just chill out. Leave me alone, right? But mostly I pass. And when I bring up transness in Black spaces, Black people are like, "Hold on, we not talking about that," right? Or when you in trans spaces, which are always predominantly white, trans-centered spaces are predominantly white if it does not say Black at the end, right? Mm-hmm. You can never expect other Black people if you didn't come in a group with them. Or other people of color. Like, they ain't even gotta be Black. I just need somebody that don't look like you, right? Like somebody else. And we go, well, my Black transness, and people are like, we're not talking about Blackness right now, right? And how we at least for me and my experiences, is like people are always trying to detach my Blackness and transness like they have ever showed up in this body as two different things, right? And that for me has never been the case. Right, like you have internalized racism that gets you when you're young, because that is what we know, right? Like that is how we cope as people, is to be like, if this ain't working, it's not working, and it's all trash, right? And so like after taking all that down, people want to dissect you and scrutinize you and crucify you in rooms, because they're like, well, we trying to figure out how you even exist. How does your trans body function in Black spaces? How about y'all just allow me to breathe air with y'all? Like this, we're not asking you to center us. It's like, I will never be like, yeah, y'all should just be sitting there. One, I don't like all that attention. Stop looking, like my things don't look at me as least as possible. We'd be good, right? And when we talk about intersections, there's so many times where we have never had access to that. Like I didn't even know the word intersectionality existed until I got into PA, right? So people have had language to call our deficit. People have had the language to be like, this is what this is, and we have never had access to this point, right? And yep, that's all I got.
Listen, that's why I'm just like, you know what, let me shut up. Let me mute myself, because Yanté and Elle got it. Like, no, like these are all the things that like need to be said. This needs to be said on live. People need to watch this. People need to watch it again. People need to watch it again. People need to share it. Like that's the energy that like I knew that I was gonna bring. And so I actually just have two more questions. There was one that I was going to ask, but honestly, like y'all done answered all my questions in so many different ways. So the last question, the second to the last question is trans visibility. What do you want people to know? And what ways can people do their own work, and how can they become more informed?
This for Elle.
I'm sorry. I had like a goofy moment. As y'all know I do. But I want people to know, I want cis people to know that we are not living our lives in transition for their validation. I do not need you to compliment me. I do not need you to say nothing to me. It would actually sometimes be better. Whether I'm an advocate or not, now, you know what I mean? And that's just for trans people. We are always on display. We are always being examined. We are like even in your own home, you can feel like a lab rat. And that's like why? Why do I have to answer to you as an adult every question about every single thing about myself for your privilege? And so that's multiple things that I'm talking about, but just to examples of, we do not need your validation. My validation does not come from cis people. My validation does not come from a man or a cis man telling me something. My validation comes from my community, from my family, from my mother, from my journey, from the things that I've been through and survived through, from the things that the women and the people that I know make up this and what this is have been through and have been able to overcome. And just knowing that we have already overcome all of our hardest battles. You already did that. Right now, where we are today, the shit that we thought was gonna be the biggest, worstest, most terrorizing thing, we already did that. We all have already done that. So again, what are we waiting for? What are we waiting for? Next, transvisibility. We can't have a conversation about transvisibility without talking about Black trans women being killed in this country. And while I think in our work, I think people try to insinuate that Milwaukee or Wisconsin is safe, right? For us, because it's not been, to my knowledge, a place where a trans woman has been killed in about like 10 years, I think. And it's not possible for me to know more than that because of data, and that the data is coming from the past. Like, it'd be different you know what I mean? Like, it'd be different in the perfect world if we come up with a whole new way of collecting and storing data that identifies people correctly and different things like that. But you know what I mean? Outside of someone that was misgendered that may have been killed in our state, I feel like our conversations around this particular issue is detached from the fact that these things happen. I have been threatened. I have been assaulted. I have been sexually assaulted, harassed, raped, stalked, followed, cyberstalked as a young Black trans woman. And I don't think it would be possible for me to understand the traumatizing things that happened to me when I was in my cis identity if I didn't transition. Like, I don't think that I would be able to heal from them or attempt to heal from them if I stayed in that identity without my own affirmation and my own a positive journey inside of whatever the struggles were. And so I think those misconceptions have to be dealt with. Black trans women, there is no gay or trans panic defense. Black trans women do not regularly go out and trick people. I don't have to trick no cis man, no trans man, no non-binary person. I don't have to trick nobody into being attracted to me. I guess I'm using myself as an example, but I'm talking about the community, you know. I'm talking about Black trans women. I don't have to do that. People follow me, like, you know what I mean? Like, why would I have to do that? You know what I mean? Like, the idea and the urban myths that surround us processing the emotional labor of dealing with the urban myths and misconceptions around us and actually living in our lives. Like just having that conversation with you as a cis person, you telling me to come down to your level to tell you that that's obviously fucking wrong. Anyway. Y'all look into some of y'all hyper masculinized idealistic characters. I have one, it's so good. But I don't feel like giving him that right now. Like I don't feel like name dropping that right now. But it's like such a good one. I'm gonna do it. It's Malcolm X. Like you will be surprised if you do your actual homework instead of just assuming things and moving your mouth. Mm-hmm. Who would be a trans attracted man? And I mean, just at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Like this is the thing about bigotry: is you living inside that microcosm of hatred. That doesn't matter. Like the rest of the country is moving forward without you. It doesn't matter if you don't approve of me. That doesn't make men not attracted to me. And when you're doing things to call me out and to embarrass me, you're making them be more attracted to me. You are the ones creating the scene and the attention that I don't need, and that sometimes puts us all in danger, whether we're Black trans women, whether we're Black trans men, or Black queer non-binary people. I'll stop there. Go ahead, Yanté.
What was the question, Michaela?
So, trans visibility. What do you want people to know? How can people be informed, and how can they continue to do their work?
I always feel a certain way about this. I think to piggyback off of Elle is like, we are not, like, trans people are not your teachers to teach you about trans people. Like, we are not your teachers to teach you about validation and affirmations and thriving. Like, that's not our job as trans people to be like, this is how you be a decent person. Or to pat you on the back when you're a decent person. That's your work. I don't care about your niceties. Like for me, that has never liberated me enough to make me not feel like there was no transphobia in the space, right? Someone being like, I called you the right pronoun. Did I do a good job? You know this is a lifelong process because it's a lifelong process for me, the trans person that you're asking. So you said a pronoun. I want you to know trans work is more than that. Your work in trans work is more than that. And also that sometimes allyship is dead. Like, we don't need you to be in our communities. That's not allyship. Stop showing our asses in our spaces and being like, we are the best advocates for trans people ever. We be in all the trans people spaces. Actually, you are colonizing the space that is not yours. Because that's what it actually is. You showing up and being there and being like, yep, we an ally. You're being oppressive. Your presence is still a presence. Regardless, and the same with like white people in Black spaces. Your presence is still a presence, regardless if you think that you're being racist or not, right? Like, regardless if you think you're being transphobic or not, we are not oddities and social shows for y'all to fuck on, right? Or like to be in community with or want to be friends with, which happens often, right? And I mean, right, like when somebody just said something to the side, I was like, you right. When we talk about giving trans people their roses now, or giving people their roses now, it looks like pay folks. Fuck a rose. Y'all put money in people's bank accounts. Put money in Black trans women's accounts. Put money in Black people's accounts. Like that's what allyship is. It's not showing up in those spaces and being like, yep, he, him, his pronouns for that person, please. Which is fantastic. Fantastic. But you can leave that space and go home. There are trans people who are on the street, right? Like, there are trans people who have lost their lives for breathing. Just breathing in proximity to transphobia, right? In proximity to white supremacy, in proximity to all the things. And so like, when people ask me about an oppressive figure's work, because you are proven guilty, you will remain guilty until proven innocent when we talk about racism and transphobic, right? You are transphobic until you are not. You are racist until you are, that ain't real. You're gonna have to always be racist. White people are always racist. There's no, you anti-racist racism work, right? Like that's what that is in relation.
Yanté, can I please, right there?
Yes.
That's just like us. And like you talking about being palatable, and I'm gonna take us being palatable or passing while working a step further into tokenism, and that while I feel like that's something that I deal with a lot as an independent person and not as like full-time staff or a staff member specifically at one organization and just only working for one organization. Is people often give me, you're doing too much. How are you doing all of that? And why? And I'm comfortable with those three questions. But if those three questions are because you are making up in your mind that organizations that I have natural relationships with in our local infrastructure, or, you know what I mean, even whatever, regardless of if it's local or national, where the relationship is natural, you know what I mean? I feel like when we're elevated to leadership, it makes community members sometimes see us as tokenized, and what there often is not a sensitivity to in our work is that this is happening, like that is now becoming an additional barrier to whatever the work was before. And so I just wanted to add that, like, when you said you're racist until you're not, like, that's how people like, you know what I mean? Like, that's how people want to handle us, is all the way up until the moment where you can pass and where people see that they can't deny that you can pass. You still your birth gender. Or you're your birth gender when they're mad as a cis person. Or you're your birth gender when, you know what I mean? I don't know, when you're vulnerable. But yes. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Felt that. And Yanté, was there anything that you would like to say to kind of finish up that question?
What was?
I think you're muted.
What was the question again? Elle started speaking, and I was like,
So, how can people do their work, and what do you want people to know about trans visibility?
I think I said all of my things. You know what you right. A comment from the side, which I also agree with, was like, stop asking trans people and Black people and Black trans people to do the work and give humanity to their own people, right? Like, we didn't strip humanity away from other trans people. Like, that wasn't T for T on them. That was y'all. Like, that was cis people's work. And so stop asking me. Like, I don't want to train you unless you're paying me. And you have to do it handsomely. And my cat, because my cats eat my plant. Who gonna pay for those? And that's all.
I want to say that for me, there's nothing that I don't do without people helping me. Just like literally like every single thing. And for trans people or trans women that don't have, again, no support systems, even the ones that I have being good in the ways that they're good, but lacking in the ways that they're lacking, right? And my needs being, you know what I mean, okay, or whatever they are, right? Even with that, I'm still facing danger and facing discrimination really everywhere, including inside your own home. And so I would say definitely donate Definitely donate to Sheba at Diverse and Resilient. Definitely donate to actual organizations that are led by the people that you're trying to impact. And again, off of Yante's point, is don't always create something from outside the community for a community. Go in, sit down, listen, wait till someone is comfortable talking to you, and then have a discussion with them about the things that are already happening in the community and network around that and build on that and really connect with that. Give trans women rides. Give trans, you know what I mean? Walk with us. Talk to us on the phone. Make sure that we're safe. Again, what I was saying earlier is I feel like we data wise feel like Milwaukee is safer, but those things can happen here and they're happening in our surrounding states and all over the rest of the country. And so, you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? All of the Black trans women that I know in Milwaukee have had similar experiences to mine and harder ones. And you know what I mean, facing like extreme violence, being stabbed, being shot, being robbed in violent ways. And so, you know what I mean, these things are still happening just because it's not an identified trans woman death here in our city. And making us safer, just like what Yante said about undoing anti-racism, like undoing racism or undoing trans misogyny or transphobia. We can't do that by ourselves. We can do all the speaking we want. We can work wherever we want. We can try whatever we want. We can build as many programs or do all the events and the things and the drives and the this and the that we want. But I can't make myself safer right now. And so that's where I'll leave visibility.
Oh, real quick, I'll just interject. So thank you both for sharing all of your wisdom and knowledge and just being here with Ex Fabula today. So for the people listening right now or have been listening this whole hour, what are your Cash Apps? What are your Venmo accounts right now? So, and then also I'm going to get that from you. So when I repost this stuff, I'll include that in there because anyone watching this or getting any kind of information from this, they should be paying you for that. So I'll let you two say your Venmo, Cash App, whatever you want. Go ahead.
My Cash App is $Elle Halo. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for facilitating and fostering and creating that space for us. Like, I really like to enter into that space. Yes. Yes. It was very nice. Yes.
Because there was people watching and getting information. So
my Cash or PayPal, and I think also my Cash App is just Yanté Turner. Somebody's name.
Thank y'all so much. I also wanted to thank Ex Fabula again because I tried to work with y'all last year and I love the organization and I went to a workshop that they had about for Black professionals, just about Black professional experience. And it really was amazing. Like it was all different types of people, different types of Black people, professionals. And everybody was really engaged though. Like it really was, you don't get that. You know what I mean? Having no random crowd of people. So it definitely is, you know what I mean? The story slams that I've been to have been amazing. And you know what I mean? My friends participated in them. And I was excited to be able to do this with you. And thank you again, Michaela. And thank you again, Nicole.
You're welcome. Wait, real quick. Someone's asking again for your names for the Cash App. Okay, so I'll start with Elle. Elle, it's $, right?
Ellehalo.
Okay, and then Yante?
It's just capital YANTETURNER. So my name, Yanté Turner.
I want it. I gotta make sure that gets in there right.
Love it. I just want to thank both of you so much, so much for the love, the brilliance, the excellence that you are naturally, and being able to share that and contribute that to X Fabula. I was so happy to hear a yes. I was so happy to pick a day and like see y'all. And it's making my day right now. And I just love both of you so much, so moved by you. And I really look forward to working with both of you. And the last question that I have, real quick, I just want to know something that people might not know about you, something that you love, something fun. Elle, you can sing your ass off. Is there anything else that
Thank
people don't
you.
know?
Thank you, Michaela. Thank you, Michaela. It's really like I wanna, you know what I mean, talk about the music. I've always been an artistic arts kid and a theater and music and choir kid. And so it's a lot of self affirmation and my life journey and transition that needed to happen in order for me to be like comfortable doing that as an adult with people. And again, that's one of them things like since our March for Pride happened, like since that day, like I feel like I can't, like I feel like I can't with the change. Like I feel like I can't with I can't do that or you know what I mean? Like I feel like this is the year of yes or some shit. I'm not saying yes to everything at all, but you get what I'm saying? Like I feel like I can't I feel like when I hear the voice saying that I can't do something, I need to go do it, you know? And so for me, one of those things has been singing on my Facebook. And it's very simple, very cheesy. You know what I mean? I'd be talking and laughing and talking about whatever I'm talking about. And that's really like has been like a part of my little self-care little process at this time. But people really have been like really responding to it. And it's something that really surprised me and something that I waited my whole life to even try, like even to lightly step into doing publicly as an individual. And so, you know, that and I'm a writer. So earlier this year, after our first gift seats in Public Allies, I identified for myself as a goal that I was going to use my writing more as a tool in my advocacy work as a what's it called, as a medium for not speaking in front of people necessarily. Like all the interactive stuff, all the panels, all the different things like that. I really, really love engaging people and educating. I see myself as an educator in whatever space I'm in. And so those are like, that's what I see myself as. I don't see myself as a public figure or as a public speaker. Like, anyway, I see myself as a public speaker, but not as a speech maker, right? And so those things give me anxiety. Those things, like, you know what I mean, have me in a different space. But I was able to use my writing more and write different articles about myself. And I think like maybe 4 articles since whenever that was, so like December. And I wrote on them. I didn't just, you know what I mean, speak or whatever. So those 2 things. And I would like to continue both of those things. And I'm looking to the future.
Yes. Please send me a link to those articles. I will read them articles as soon as we get off this Zoom call. Like, please send me them.
Thank you. They on my page. Thank you. I'll send you some.
Thank you. And Yanté, what about you?
So I've been sitting here thinking, right? Like, what is something that people don't know? I don't really have anything. I feel, I don't know. Part of me is like, is everything I do in secret? What do people not know? So I don't have anything. I got a lot of animals, and I really like animals, and I have a special connection with animals. Yep.
Oh, yes. Oh, also, do you want to shout out the farm?
This is right. We got the shirts on and everything. So yes, I do want to shout out the farm. And so when people ask me about the work that I do, captivating and holding spaces is also something that I love doing and don't see as a profession, but it's life work, right? And so this little big farm called Loveland Acres Farm, was birthed by this woman named Scarlett, and Scarlett was a special ed teacher, and she came from Milwaukee, and she's a Black woman, and she moved to little ass Elkhorn, Wisconsin, and she started like this dream farm land world of hers. And it is centered around bringing kids and young people from the city to farmlands, right? And showing them how to grow crops and grow animals and care for animals in like this frame of like youth justice and revolutionary work, right? So we're gonna do programs around food sovereignty. Scarlett is like, we're gonna bring all the young people and just make programs around them, right? And teach people how to use the land in the way that it was meant to be used for. And so Loveland Acres Farm, they got an Instagram and a Facebook. Please go like and share their Facebook. And also we are trying to fund and raise money to get more land so this farm and this dream can grow. And so therefore we have a bigger capacity to get more kids. And therefore we have a bigger impact on making sure that like marginalized communities don't get farther marginalized in like our systems. And this farm is doing that. So actually take my Cash App out and it goes to the money to Loveland Acres. Do not Cash App me personally. I will send it back or donate it to Loveland Acres myself. So you might as well go do it yourself. Loveland Acres Farm on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michaela.
Thank you so much. And that is everything. And I'm cool with leaving it right there. I think that like everybody watching has been impacted and I've been impacted. And these are the conversations that I feel like this story tour project was like designed to have. And so I love you all for all of the work, all of the grace, all of the time and everything. For everyone watching, be sure to Cash App Loveland Acres, Cash App Elle Halo, go on 14th and go see Elle. And put Elle everywhere.
Right.
Continue to make that hashtag a thing until Elle is everywhere. And thank you, Nicole, for all of your work behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, all of that. And this was StoryTour, and thank you so much.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank y'all for allowing us
Good
to go.
job, Michaela.
Thank you.
Michaela, you did a great job.
Thank you. I was so nervous. Yes.
And thank you to everyone watching who tuned in today. There's a good amount of people that tuned in. And we're going to continue this series through the summer. We'll see what happens after that. So yeah, see us next time. We're working on the next guest, so people will be able to see that soon. Really exciting. So yeah, and thank you again, Yanté and Elle, for joining us.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you again, Nicole and Michaela, for making the space and putting us together. I know y'all say like, girl, if Elle don't stop, girl, why? All the time. We always working together. And like we don't be knowing this stuff though. Like we don't be knowing this most of the time. But anyway, I love all three of y'all. Thank you very, very much. But shameless plug, I'm going to be at this thing at Tippin-Hiller Park tomorrow at 3 o'clock. If y'all want to come see me and see what I got on and stuff, you know what I'm saying. Tippin-Hiller Park at 3 o'clock for the National Blackout Day Block Party. It was supposed to be on National Blackout Day and it was rescheduled. And there's going to be performances, a lot of great activists and entrepreneurs and artists present. And then there's going to be a community activist panel. So please come and join us. And thank
you. All right. Well, I'm gonna do what I need to do to wrap this. I usually does this, so I'm new at this. So yeah, but y'all are welcome to jump off if you want. And then me and Michaela will stay on.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Love y'all.
Love you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye. Mama special love. Bye, okay.
Okay. So let me see. Stop recording.
Love y'all.